Welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about one of the deepest and most painful truths of life. In the end, you only have yourself. People will come into your life. Some will support you. Some will love you. Some will promise they will never leave. But life changes. People change. And sometimes, the people you trusted the most become strangers. At first, this truth feels heartbreaking. Because every person wants someone who stays forever, someone who understands them completely, someone who never changes. But life teaches us something different. It teaches us that real strength begins when you stop depending completely on others and start building yourself from within. Because in the end, you are the one who must heal your mind. You are the one who must protect your peace. You are the one who must continue moving forward when life becomes difficult. And that is why your relationship with yourself is so important. In this video, you are going to learn powerful lessons that will help you become emotionally stronger, mentally independent, and more confident within yourself. So stay with us till the end. Because once you truly understand your own value, you stop fearing loneliness, rejection, and people leaving your life. Lesson 1. People come and go, but you stay. One of the most painful truths in life is this. Not everyone will stay forever. Some people enter your life for a short time. Some people stay only during good moments. And some people leave the moment life becomes difficult. At first, this truth feels heartbreaking. Because deep inside, every person wants loyalty. Every person wants someone who never changes, someone who always stays. But life teaches something different. Life teaches that people are temporary. And in the end, the one person who always remains with you is yourself. Now think about this deeply. From the day you were born until today, how many people have come and gone from your life? Friends changed, relationships changed, connections faded. Some people promised they would stay forever, but disappeared with time. And this happens to almost everyone. Now here is the truth. People leaving does not always mean you were not valuable. Sometimes life simply changes people. Sometimes priorities change. Sometimes paths become different. And mature people understand this. They stop expecting permanence from temporary things. Now let us go deeper. Many people suffer because they build their whole identity around others. Their happiness depends on people. Their confidence depends on people. Their peace depends on people. And when those people leave, everything falls apart. Why? Because they forgot to build a strong relationship with themselves. Now imagine this. You spend years trying to please everyone, trying to keep everyone happy, trying to stop people from leaving. But no matter how much effort you give, some people still walk away. This is one of the hardest lessons in life. You cannot force people to stay. Now here is something important. People leaving your life is not always a loss. Sometimes it is protection. Some people leave because they were never meant to stay forever. Some people leave because they already taught the lesson they were supposed to teach. And sometimes, people leaving creates space for growth. Now imagine this. Someone leaves your life unexpectedly. At first you feel broken, you feel lonely, you feel abandoned. But slowly, you begin learning how to stand on your own. You become stronger emotionally. You become more independent mentally. And one day, you realize that pain helped you discover your own strength. Now let us talk about loneliness. Many people fear being alone. Why? Because being alone forces them to face themselves, their thoughts, their fears, their insecurities. So they constantly surround themselves with people, even unhealthy people, just to avoid loneliness. But here's the truth. Being alone is not always a bad thing. Sometimes solitude teaches you more than company ever can. Now imagine this. You spend time alone. Instead of feeling empty, you start learning about yourself, your goals, your mindset, your emotions. Slowly, you stop needing constant attention from others, and that creates inner peace. Now here is another truth. The relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship in your life. Because people may leave, but you will always live with yourself. Your thoughts, your mind, your choices. That is why self-respect matters so much. Now let us go even deeper. Many people give love to everyone except themselves. They support others. They forgive others. They care for others. But they ignore their own mental health, their own peace, their own growth. And eventually, they feel emotionally exhausted because you cannot pour endlessly into others while neglecting yourself. Now imagine this. Instead of chasing everyone, you begin focusing on yourself too. You heal, you grow, you build confidence, you become emotionally stronger, and slowly, you stop fearing people leaving. Why? Because you trust yourself now. Now here is something powerful. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the less desperate you become for validation. You stop begging for attention. You stop lowering your standards. Because you understand something important. Your value does not disappear because someone walked away. Now let us go deeper one final time. Life will always bring changes. Some people will stay. Some people will leave. And you cannot control that. But you can control one thing: how strong you become within yourself. Because inner strength creates stability, and stability creates peace. Now here is the final truth. People may come and go throughout your life, but in the end, you are the one who must live with your choices, your mind, and your future. So build yourself, trust yourself, respect yourself. Because when life becomes difficult, the person who will truly save you is you. Lesson 2. Stop depending on others for happiness. One of the biggest mistakes people make in life is depending on others for happiness. They depend on attention, on validation, on approval, on people constantly being there for them. And when those things disappear, their peace disappears too. Now here is the truth. If your happiness depends completely on other people, you will always feel emotionally unstable. Because people change. Sometimes they support you. Sometimes they disappoint you. Sometimes they leave without explanation. And if your emotional peace is fully connected to others, every change in people will break you emotionally. Now think about this. How many people feel happy only when they receive attention? When someone texts them, praises them, notices them. But the moment they feel ignored, they feel empty. Why? Because they never learned how to create happiness within themselves. Now let us go deeper. Real peace cannot come only from outside sources. Because outside things are temporary. People's moods change, relationships change, life changes. And if your happiness is attached only to temporary things, your emotions will constantly suffer. Now imagine this. A person spends their whole life trying to make everyone love them, trying to gain approval from everyone, trying to avoid rejection. But no matter how hard they try, they still feel insecure inside. Why? because external validation can never permanently fix internal emptiness. Only self-worth can do that. Now here is something important. There is nothing wrong with love, support, or appreciation. Those things are beautiful. But they should add to your happiness, not become the only reason for your happiness. Because when you depend too much on others emotionally, you slowly lose yourself. Now imagine this. Someone suddenly leaves your life. If your happiness was fully dependent on them, your whole world collapses. But if you already built inner peace within yourself, you may feel pain, but you will still survive emotionally. And that emotional independence is powerful. Now let us talk about loneliness. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships simply because they are afraid of being alone. They tolerate disrespect. They ignore red flags. They lose self-respect. Why? Because they think loneliness is worse. But here is the truth. Being alone is far better than losing yourself trying to keep people who hurt your peace. Now think about this deeply. The relationship you have with yourself affects every relationship in your life. If you don't value yourself, you will constantly seek value from others. If you don't love yourself, you will constantly beg others to fill that emptiness. And that creates emotional suffering. Now here is another truth. People who are emotionally dependent often become people pleasers. They say yes when they want to say no. They constantly seek approval. They fear disappointing others. And slowly, they become exhausted emotionally, because living for everyone else destroys inner peace. Now imagine something different. You begin building happiness within yourself. You enjoy your own company. You focus on your growth. You stop needing constant validation. Slowly, your confidence changes. You become calmer, stronger, more emotionally free, because now your peace does not depend on other people's behavior. Now let us go even deeper. Happiness built on external things is fragile, but happiness built within yourself becomes stable. Because you stop expecting people to save you emotionally, you become your own source of peace. And that is real emotional maturity. Now imagine this. You wake up every day focused on yourself too. Your goals, your mental health, your growth. Instead of constantly chasing attention, you begin building a better relationship with yourself. After some time, you stop feeling desperate for approval, because your self-worth becomes internal. Now here is something powerful. Emotionally strong people still love others deeply, but they do not lose themselves in the process. They understand balance. They know how to care for people, while still protecting their own peace. Now let us go deeper one final time. People can support you. People can love you. But no one can permanently carry your emotional happiness for you. That responsibility belongs to you. And once you understand this, your whole mindset changes. Now here is the final truth. The more you depend on others for happiness, the weaker your emotional peace becomes. But the more you build peace within yourself, the stronger and freer you become. So from today, stop begging for validation. Stop depending completely on others emotionally. Start building your own happiness. Start healing yourself. Start valuing yourself. Because real peace begins the moment you realize your happiness should not disappear just because someone else changes. Lesson 3. Self-respect changes everything. One of the most important things you can build in life is self-respect. Because the way you treat yourself teaches people how to treat you. If you constantly disrespect yourself, Ignore your own value and accept less than you deserve. People will notice that. But when you respect yourself, everything begins to change. Your mindset changes, your confidence changes, your relationships change, and most importantly, your standards change. Now here is the truth. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is understanding your worth without needing to prove it to everyone. It is knowing that your peace matters, your time matters, your feelings matter, and your life matters. Now think about this. Many people lose themselves trying to be accepted by others. They tolerate disrespect. They ignore red flags. They stay silent even when something hurts them. Why? Because they fear rejection. They fear losing people. But here is something important. When you sacrifice your self-respect just to keep people, you slowly lose yourself. And losing yourself is one of the most painful things in life. Now let us go deeper. People with low self-respect often accept things they should never accept. Disrespectful behavior, toxic relationships, constant emotional pain. And over time, they begin believing that this treatment is normal. But it is not normal. You should never feel like you must destroy your peace to keep someone in your life. Now imagine this. Someone constantly disrespects you. Instead of speaking up, you stay quiet every time. Slowly, your confidence becomes weaker. Your emotional pain grows. Because every time you ignore your own value, your self-worth decreases. Now imagine something different. You calmly set boundaries. You stop accepting disrespect. You protect your peace. Immediately, your energy changes. Because self-respect creates strength. Now here is another truth. People respect those who respect themselves. Not because they are perfect, but because they carry themselves differently. They know their worth. They don't beg for attention. They don't chase validation desperately. And that quiet confidence becomes powerful. Now let us talk about boundaries. Self-respect means learning to say no when necessary. Many people say yes to everything because they want everyone to like them. But constantly pleasing others often destroys your own happiness. Now think about this deeply. Every time you say yes to something unhealthy, you are saying no to your own peace. This is why boundaries matter. Boundaries protect your mental health, your emotional energy, your self-worth. Now imagine this. You stop allowing people to drain your energy. You stop chasing people who constantly disrespect you. You stop lowering your standards for temporary attention. Slowly, your life becomes calmer, healthier, more peaceful, because self-respect removes unnecessary suffering. Now let us go even deeper. Self-respect also changes the way you speak to yourself. Many people are kind to others, but cruel to themselves. They constantly criticize themselves, doubt themselves, speak negatively about themselves, and over time, their confidence disappears. But self-respect means treating yourself with kindness too, encouraging yourself, believing in your growth, understanding that mistakes do not make you worthless. Now here is something powerful. The stronger your self-respect becomes, the less desperate you become for approval. Because you stop depending on outside validation to feel valuable. You begin validating yourself internally, and that creates emotional freedom. Now imagine this. You wake up every day focused on becoming better, not to impress people, but because you value yourself enough to grow. Slowly, your mindset changes completely. You become more disciplined, more confident, more emotionally stable, because self-respect affects every part of life. Now let us talk about relationships. Healthy relationships become easier when you respect yourself. Why? Because you stop accepting unhealthy behavior. You stop ignoring red flags. You stop begging people to stay. And that protects your emotional health. Now here is another truth. Self-respect sometimes requires walking away. Walking away from disrespect. Walking away from toxic environments. Walking away from things that destroy your peace. And while walking away may feel painful, staying in situations that damage your self-worth hurts even more. Now let us go deeper one final time. At the end of the day, the relationship you have with yourself sets the foundation for your entire life. If you value yourself, you make better decisions. You protect your peace. You choose healthier relationships, and you become emotionally stronger. Now here is the final truth. Self-respect changes everything because it changes you. It changes how you think, how you speak, how you allow others to treat you. So from today, stop lowering your standards for acceptance. Stop ignoring your own value. Start protecting your peace. Start respecting yourself deeply. Because when you truly respect yourself, your whole life begins to change. Lesson 4. People may leave, but your dreams should not. One of the saddest things in life is when people give up on themselves because someone else gave up on them. A relationship ends. A friendship changes. Someone disappoints them. And suddenly, they stop believing in their own future. They lose motivation. They lose confidence. They lose hope. Why? Because they connected their self-worth to people instead of their own purpose. Now here is the truth. People leaving your life should never become the reason you abandon yourself. Your dreams still matter. Your goals still matter. Your future still matters, even if someone walked away. Now think about this deeply. How many people stopped chasing their dreams because of heartbreak, because of rejection, because someone made them feel unimportant? And slowly, their whole life became centered around pain instead of growth. But pain should never become your permanent identity. Now let us go deeper. People will disappoint you sometimes. That is part of life. Some people will leave when things become difficult. Some people will stop believing in you. Some people will misunderstand your journey completely. But none of those things should stop your growth, because your purpose is bigger than people's opinions. Now imagine this. Someone leaves your life unexpectedly. At first you feel broken. You question your value. You question your future. But instead of destroying yourself emotionally, you choose growth. You continue working on your goals. You continue improving your life. Slowly, your pain begins transforming into strength. And one day, you realize something powerful. The situation that almost destroyed you actually made you stronger. Now here is something important. Never let temporary people make permanent decisions for your life. Just because someone failed to see your value does not mean you have no value. Just because someone walked away does not mean your future disappeared. Now think about successful people. Many of them faced rejection. People doubted them. People left them. People stopped supporting them. But they kept moving forward anyway. Why? Because they understood something powerful. If you give up on yourself, everything ends. But if you continue believing in yourself, new opportunities can still appear. Now let us talk about emotional pain. Pain can either destroy you or build you. It depends on what you do after the pain. Some people allow pain to make them bitter. Others allow pain to make them wiser, stronger, more focused. And that choice changes everything. Now imagine this. Instead of spending years crying over who left, you spend that energy rebuilding yourself, learning new skills, healing emotionally, improving mentally, slowly. Your life begins changing because growth creates healing. Now here's another truth. Sometimes people leave your life to teach you independence, to teach you resilience, to teach you how to stand on your own. And while those lessons feel painful, they often create emotional maturity. Now let us go even deeper. Your dreams deserve loyalty too. Many people stay loyal to people who hurt them, but abandon their own goals quickly. They stop believing in themselves after one painful chapter. But life is bigger than one disappointment. Your story is not finished because one person walked away. Now imagine this. You continue moving forward despite heartbreak, despite disappointment, despite loneliness. One day, you become proud of yourself, not because life was easy, but because you refused to quit on yourself. And that creates real confidence. Now here is something powerful. The people who truly succeed in life are not always the people with the easiest journey. Often, they're the people who kept going despite emotional pain. They kept growing despite rejection, and their resilience became their power. Now let us talk about self-worth again. When someone leaves your life, do not let your mind immediately say, "I am not enough." People leave for many reasons, sometimes because of their own struggles, their own mindset, their own path. And mature people understand this. They stop blaming their entire worth on someone else's decision. Now imagine this. You stop begging people to stay. You stop destroying yourself emotionally over temporary people. Instead, you focus on building your future. Slowly, your energy changes. You become stronger internally because your life is no longer controlled by who stays and who leaves. Now let us go deeper one final time. At the end of the day, your future depends on whether you continue moving forward, not on who disappointed you, not on who rejected you, not on who failed to appreciate you. Your future belongs to the version of you that keeps going despite pain. Now here is the final truth. People may come and go throughout your life, but your dreams should never leave with them. So protect your goals, protect your purpose, protect your future. Because no matter who walks away, you still owe yourself the life you dreamed about. Lesson 5. Build yourself mentally and emotionally. One of the most important things you can do in life is build yourself from the inside, not just physically, not just financially, mentally and emotionally. Because life will test you. There will be painful moments, disappointments, failures, lonely seasons, and during those moments, your inner strength becomes everything. Now here is the truth. A weak mindset struggles with every difficulty, but a strong mindset adapts, survives, and continues moving forward. This is why building yourself internally is so important. Now think about this. Many people spend years improving their outside image, but completely ignore their inner world. They focus on appearance, attention, validation. But inside, they feel anxious, insecure, and emotionally exhausted. Why? Because real strength does not begin outside. It begins within you. Now let us go deeper. Mental strength means controlling your thoughts during difficult times, not allowing fear to destroy your focus, not allowing negativity to control your life. And this kind of strength does not happen automatically. It must be trained daily. Now imagine this. A difficult situation suddenly appears in your life. A mentally weak person immediately breaks down emotionally. They panic, they lose hope, they give up quickly. But mentally strong people respond differently. They feel pain too, but they stay calm enough to think clearly. And that calmness becomes power. Now here is something important. Mental strength is not pretending to be emotionless. Strong people still feel sadness, stress, disappointment. But they do not allow emotions to completely control their actions. That is emotional maturity. Now let us talk about emotional strength. Emotionally strong people understand how to protect their peace. They stop begging for validation. They stop depending completely on others for happiness. They stop allowing every small problem to destroy their mood. And because of that, their life becomes more stable emotionally. Now imagine this. Instead of reacting emotionally to every situation, you pause. You think carefully. You control your words and decisions. Slowly, your emotional intelligence grows. And emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful skills in life. Now here is another truth. Building yourself mentally requires discipline. You must protect your mind from negativity constantly. The world is full of distractions, full of toxic energy, full of unnecessary drama. And if you feed your mind negativity every day, your mental peace slowly disappears. Now think about what you consume daily, the conversations you listen to, the content you watch, the people around you. All of these things affect your mindset. Now imagine something different. You begin feeding your mind positive and healthy things. Books, learning, motivational thoughts, peaceful habits. Slowly, your mind becomes stronger and calmer because your mental environment shapes your emotional health. Now let us go even deeper. Emotionally weak people often seek constant reassurance. They need others to constantly remind them of their worth. But emotionally strong people build confidence within themselves. They trust themselves. They validate themselves. And because of that, they become emotionally independent. Now here is something powerful. The stronger you become internally, the less outside chaos controls you. Criticism affects you less. Rejection affects you less. Temporary problems affect you less. Because your peace is no longer built on unstable things. It is built within you. Now imagine this. You spend 1 full year building yourself mentally. You train your mindset daily. You heal emotionally. You learn self-control. After 1 year, you become a completely different person. Calmer, wiser, stronger. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger internally. Now let us talk about healing. Many people try to ignore emotional pain instead of healing it. They distract themselves constantly. But unhealed pain eventually affects everything. Your relationships, your confidence, your peace. This is why emotional healing matters. You must face your emotions honestly, learn from them, grow from them, and slowly rebuild yourself. Now here's another truth. Building yourself mentally also means learning how to be alone peacefully. Because emotionally strong people do not panic when they are alone. They use solitude to grow, to reflect, to become stronger. And that creates emotional stability. Now imagine this. Instead of depending on others to save you emotionally, you become your own source of strength. You comfort yourself. You motivate yourself. You believe in yourself even during hard times. That is real inner power. Now let us go deeper one final time. At the end of the day, Life becomes easier when you become stronger internally, because you stop breaking every time life changes. You stop depending completely on outside things for peace. And that inner stability changes everything. Now here is the final truth. You cannot control every situation in life, but you can build yourself strong enough to handle difficult situations better. So from today, invest in your mind, protect your emotional health, build mental discipline, heal emotionally, and become stronger within yourself. Because when you become strong internally, life loses the power to break you easily. Now think about this for a moment. How many times did you search for strength in other people while forgetting to build strength within yourself? How many times did you depend on attention, validation, or support to feel valuable? And how many times did you break emotionally because someone changed, left, or disappointed you? But today, you learned something powerful. People may come and go throughout your life, but the one person who will always stay with you is you. That is why your relationship with yourself matters so much. Your mindset, your peace, your self-respect, all of these things shape your life. Now here is the truth. There is nothing wrong with loving people. Nothing wrong with accepting support. But you must never lose yourself trying to keep others. Because at the end of the day, you are the one who must heal your mind. You are the one who must protect your peace. You are the one who must build your future. And that realization is not weakness. It is power. Because once you stop depending completely on others emotionally, you become stronger internally. You stop begging for validation. You stop fearing loneliness. You stop abandoning yourself for temporary people. And that is emotional freedom. Now imagine this. 1 year from today, you chose yourself. You worked on your mindset. You healed emotionally. You became mentally stronger. Your whole life changes. Not because everyone stayed, but because you learned how to stand strong even when people leave. And that is real growth. So from today, respect yourself. Protect your peace. Build yourself mentally and emotionally. Because as long as you have yourself, you still have hope, strength, and the power to change your life. If this message connected with you, like this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to this channel, because we are here to help you become mentally stronger, emotionally wiser, and more confident in life. And remember, in the end, the strongest relationship you will ever build is the relationship with yourself.